Hi, and welcome to a special episode of Nerds of Wisdom. Today is November 13th, and this morning I woke up to the news that Stan Lee had died. I know so many people are grateful for the life of Stan Lee. I know a lot of people like me are mourning that loss. I wish I could say that I was simply sad, but overwhelmingly I was grateful. I was grateful for being able to say I am who I am today because of Stan. Today I reached out to a friend of mine who I know shares my passion for comics and shares my passion for all things superheroes and Marvel. And we just felt we needed to do something to say our piece, to honour the life and the legend of Stan Lee and what it meant to us. And so today we decided to do a video and release it together. So obviously it's coming a few days after the event, but we wanted to release a video on something that was not possible in our lives without Stan. At the age of 12, I had just started joining the youth group at my local church, and I was about to turn 13, and a couple of older kids there, about 17, 18, I was friends with them. One significant day that would change my life was the day they invited me to go into the city with them, which was a huge adventure. I'd never been into the city without my parents, and it was a big deal. So I was given a little bit of pocket money, and they took me to Elizabeth Street. And Elizabeth Street was the place to be for people like us. It had the Daily Planet, it had the Silver Bullet, it had comics, etc. It had all the comic book stores, and they loved their RPGs, so they'd go in and they'd check out all the very cool D&D universe and all the artwork that had come out. And I wandered over to a counter, and I looked into the counter and I saw this card here. And it was just the most amazing image of Wolverine I'd ever seen. I couldn't believe it. I'd sort of seen X-Men, the animated series, on TV. I remembered Wolverine, and that image was not the Wolverine on the cartoon. That image was epic. That image was fierce. That image was powerful. That image was rough. That day I bought that card, and I collected the X-Men Fleer Ultra 94 series. And then I started to collect, well, that's kind of all the collections I made. DC vs. Marvel, Marvel Universe, Marvel Masterpieces, X-Men 96, 95. It's a lot. And of course, collecting all this artwork, I fell in love with the idea of the comics, and I started to collect the comics. X-Men changed me. I read as much X-Men as I could. I collected as much X-Men content as I could. But as I read, I began to adopt their values. As I read, I began to understand the world. And the fact was that until I started collecting comics, I didn't like to read. I learned to love the written word through X-Men. I learned to love art. I learned to appreciate story and character. I have a lot to thank for Stan Lee, because I am who I am, because of his influence, because of what he created and the work that others continued. And more importantly, I think, just his attitude. That over the years, he's always just been someone who was driven by his passion, led by his passion, and connected his passion with his work, with his ethic, his humanity that came through. That the stories weren't just stories for selling to audiences, they were stories for connecting with people. And I think that's something that's I've always wanted to achieve, that ability to connect with people through story. I guess what I'm trying to say is that even though, Stan, that I never met you, I have been forever changed by you and your work. And I don't want to leave the discussion here. I don't want it to just be my story. I want to hear your story. If there is something that was possible in your life, some way in which the work of Stan Lee changed you, then I want to hear it. I want you to write it in the comments. And if you make your own video about how the life of Stan Lee impacted you, I want to see it too. So put that in the comments and I'll go watch it. I want to hear the stories. I want to be a part of this living memory of one of the greatest creative people, I think, on the planet who I am who I am today because of. And I'm grateful. So it's not just my story. Please share your story. And also I'm going to leave a link to Matt Dixon, who I think is just an amazing storyteller himself. And I love his work. And I think he's a very passionate person who I enjoy just how he connects with his passion and how he lives that out. So I'll leave a link for his video in the description, as well as at the end you can go check it out. But look, this is just a very special, quick tribute to Stan, the man. I don't know any better way to say this, but Excelsior.